Hello and welcome to The Gavel, where we take a look at the activities of the Senate and House of Representatives for the week. I am Terry Ikumi. On Tuesday, lawmakers in both chambers reconvened after adjourning for about 3 weeks to allow members participate in their various party conventions. And upon resumption on Tuesday, in line with their tradition, both chambers met briefly and suspended plenary in honor of Representative Muhammad Hassan, who passed away on the 11th of April after a brief illness. The lawmakers reconvened on Wednesday, and in the Senate, the rise in insecurity across the nation once again came under scrutiny as 2 lawmakers sounded the alarm over the surge in killings in Borno and Benue states.
The Senate notes with deep concern the recent attacks on military formation leading to casualties among troops, including Brigadier General Usaini Brahimo, Colonel Mohamed Isaya, Captain A.M. Ismat, Lieutenant Kelvin Pestuns, and 13 other soldiers. Aware that these recurring attacks on Monguno, a strategic garrison town, demonstrate a deliberate attempt by insurgents to undermine military operations and disrupt humanitarian and commercial access routes. Also aware that the Nigerian armed forces have continued to make immense sacrifice in the fight against insurgency, with several gallant officers and men paying the supreme price in these recent attacks in defense of the territorial integrity of this country. Worried that the resurgence of attacks on both military bases and civilian communities erodes gains already recorded in counter-insurgency operations and poses grave threats to national security, food security, and resettlement of IDPs in Borno State and the country as a whole. Mindful that the protection of innocent civilians remains a fundamental obligation under national and international humanitarian law and is essential for maintaining public trust and cooperation in the fight against insurgency. The primacy of governance is to protect the lives and property of the people. That is the only essence of governance, and that is the social contract with which the people have entered into with government, is to protect their lives and property.
Unless this problem is addressed holistically, consistently, until it is over, the insurgents have a way to reassemble themselves and engage our military. The arm or the commanders of the Nigerian army were deliberately targeted after the attack that happened in the northern Borno, where in the Timbuktu Square, a triangle, where the Nigerian army took over and killed so many of their commanders. The problem we had in all the locations, including the general that we lost, was because they didn't have adequate equipment, ammunition, and of course, motivation. But now that measures are being taken, we hope that these measures will be accelerated. And lastly, Mr. President, you are aware, in my local government, 416 women, children, and elderly, as I speak to you, are in captivity with the Boko Haram. They issued a threat that if nothing is being done, that they will disperse them and will never find them again. So we still call on this National Assembly, the presidency, to take action so that this particular issue will be addressed. And I want to call on our colleagues to please show concern and support this motion.
This affects every one of us. And 2 things, Mr. President. If you see the trends of the security attacks against our armed forces and sufficiently targeting the very best of our military personnel, and other security heads. And more often than not, the trend has shifted from just attacking anybody. If that happens, and we think action has been taken, and I said action has not been taken, and this is not just the work of the President and Commander-in-Chief. Mr. President, this is our responsibility. The National Assembly and the Senate in particular must call all those that are involved, whether or not sufficient ammunition have been provided, whether or not sufficient funds have been provided. Mr. President, we cannot continue to think because we are in Abuja and therefore this thing does not affect us. It has affected us. Finally, sir, one of the things that we must do, and I want us to take this in very, very serious, is either to suspend all political activities across this country or look at the frontline states of Borno, of Plateau, of Bauchi, of Benue, of Niger, of Sokoto, of Kebbi, and part of Kano, and suspend all political activities until we are sufficiently settled that these security issues we are dealing with, we are not dealing with these security issues at all. And I'm not blaming anybody. I am saying we are not doing it. We cannot every time come here and lament.
Call on the Chief of Defense Staff and service chiefs to conduct a comprehensive operational and logistical audit of the circumstances surrounding the attacks of military formations in Beni Sheikh and Mongono, including an assessment of equipment adequacy and rules of engagement, and to address identified gaps. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The upper chamber asked the federal government to immediately deploy additional military and paramilitary personnel to Upper local government area and other affected parts of the state to restore law and order.
Direct the immediate establishment of a police area command and military base in Ampa Agatu local government area of Benue State. Provide adequate funding to security agencies operating in Benue State. Enhance intelligence gathering, surveillance, and rapid response capabilities in vulnerable communities in Benue South Senatorial District that have been subjected to incessant attacks on its farming population with consequential losses of lives and properties with no meaningful government intervention from the state government. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
A minute of silence was observed in honor of fallen military personnel and affected civilians.
All those who lost their lives in the recent attacks on military formations, including the families of Brigadier General Braimo, Colonel Mohammed Ishan, Captain Esmat, Lieutenant Kelvin Festus, and 13 others, and many that were affected, who may not be officers, rest in perfect peace.
The President of the Senate then proceeded to announce another wave of defections. The movement of key three lawmakers, the former Chairman of Public Accounts Committee, Senator Aliyu Wadada, former Minority Whip, Senator Osita Ngwu, as well as Senator Anthony Yaru, representing Gombe South. The total number of APC lawmakers is now pegged at 91. Following the defections, Senator Tony Nwonye emerged as the new Senate Minority Whip. Like the Senate, full legislative activities commenced in the Green Chamber on Wednesday, with the Speaker presiding. 6 defections were recorded, as announced by the Speaker. 4 members from Kano State moved from the New Nigeria People's Party to the African Democratic Congress, 1 from Zamfara State PDP to APC, and 1 from Imo State PDP to the APC.
President or Commander-in-Chief.
The Speaker then read a communication from the President, which seeks to improve the welfare and operations of the Nigeria Police Force.
The Nigerian Police Trust Fund, NPTF Act, repeal and reenactment is imperative to provide management and administration of the fund, support for the training and enhancement of the skills of the Nigerian police force, provision of modern security equipment and machineries, and to enhance the welfare of the Nigerian police force, among other matters.
3 motions of urgent national importance were received, bordering on insecurity and unrest.
Bukuim local government area of Zamfara State has been under siege by armed bandits who have been terrorizing the entire local government area with impunity.
The House notes with deep concern the troubling and time-sensitive crisis affecting the constituents in Katai and Faudan communities of within local government area Kano State. Also note that in March 2026, these communities were engulfed in a violent clash involving security operatives and local residents, reportedly arising from a land dispute which escalated into widespread unrest.
I move on the need for immediate measures to address the recurring killings and mining of people by bandits in Kayama local government area, Kwara State, and surrounding communities, following the recent incidents of 10th and 20th of April, 2026.
Next, the House received and approved a motion drawing attention to sharp decline in farm produce prices.
Urge the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, in collaboration with the relevant agencies, to urgently design and implement remedial measures by establishing structured off-taking arrangements and price support mechanisms to cushion the effects of the adverse effect of the sharp decline in farm produce prices on farmers in the country, strengthen storage, processing and market access infrastructure, including the expansion of strategic grain reserves and agro-processing zones to mitigate post-harvest losses and stabilize prices. Develop sustainable agricultural price stabilization policies and framework that will protect farmers' investment, enhance productivity, and guarantee fair returns on agricultural investment. And finally, mandate the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services to investigate the underlying causes of the persistent drop in farm produce prices, assess impact on farmers' livelihood, food security and national nutrition, and report back to the House within 2 weeks for further legislative action.
Meanwhile, the House is urging relevant ministries and the Central Bank of Nigeria to urgently implement and monitor the full operationalization of the executive order on pharmaceutical production inputs to address concerns around rising cost of medicines in Nigeria and revival of local pharmaceutical manufacturing. Welcome back to The Gavel. At the commencement of plenary on the last day for the week in the Senate President read a correspondence from President Bola Tinubu seeking a fresh loan of $516.3 million through the Dutch bank.
Approve the syndicated financing from Deutsche Bank in the sum of USD $516 million, $333,000, and 7 United States dollars for the construction of the Sokoto Badagry Superhighway project, sections 1, phase 1A and 1B.
It's a project that will change the lives of so many people in the northwest geopolitical zone, north central, and even southwest. It will reduce the distance of traveling by road from Sokoto to Lagos by more than 70%.
It's better to borrow for infrastructure so that at the end of the day, we'll have something to see. And then we can pay through even the infrastructure. And I urge the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to do a job and bring it back to us for expeditious approval.
Minutes later, the Senate admitted President Bola Tinubu's ministerial nominee, Mutaka Dharma, accompanied by his family, for his screening.
I started as a teacher, as a lecturer. I was teaching harmonic flutes and heat transfer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Bayero University, Kano. From there, I joined the then National Electric Power Authority as manager mechanical at their own Egbin thermal station in Lagos.
What will you do in your capacity as Minister of Housing in order to bridge the huge housing gap that we have in the country, and at the same time try to mitigate rural-urban migration?
That's about accessibility and affordability of this housing. We will make sure that they are available and affordable in each way. I will make sure that the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development is considered not only by the Senate, but the very Nigerians as the most performing ministry in Nigeria.
The nominee also addressed plans to restore the Abuja Master Plan. He was subsequently asked to take a bow and leave.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Would the Senate approve the nomination of Mutaga Rabi Dama, PhD, for appointment as Minister of the Federal Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in support of the approval say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
In the House of Representatives, lawmakers are asking the federal government to develop a comprehensive repatriation and reintegration framework for Nigerian victims of human trafficking in line with global best practices. Now, this follows a motion on the need to strengthen the repatriation, rehabilitation, and reintegration of trafficked Nigerians from Mali and other West African countries.
Kindly note that the trafficking of Nigerian girls and young women to Mali and other West African countries, especially for sexual exploitation and forced labor, is on the rise at an alarming rate. Concerned that despite Nigeria's international commitments under the Palermo Protocol, the Convention of the Rights of the Child, and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, coordination gaps, inadequate funding, and bureaucratic delays continue to hinder the timely rescue and repatriation of trafficked Nigerian citizens. Urge the Federal Ministries of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction and Foreign Affairs, as well as NAPTIP, to develop a comprehensive repatriation and reintegration framework for Nigerian victims of human trafficking in line with global best practices. Also urge the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs to allocate special intervention funding for the repatriation, rehabilitation, and empowerment of trafficked girls in the 2027 budget estimates.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has been urged to assist the federal government to prioritize policies that support agro-processing, export facilitation, and access to financing as part of efforts to reposition Nigeria's agricultural sector for global competitiveness. Addressing members of the House of Representatives Press Corps, an agricultural expert Olusegun Alabi stressed the need for authorities to support indigenous companies to drive economic transformation and boost foreign exchange earnings.
The future of agriculture is not in a raw production. It is a value chain processing and export. Davidola offers an opportunity to be part of a scaling agro-industrial platform, high-growth export business, a solution to Africa's economic challenge. This is not just investment. This is a participation in movements. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Investing in Nigeria or in Africa is investing in an economy that has future, and the future is now.
My constituency, which is Kana-Gokana, is made up of about 36 wards and close to 200 communities. And these communities are all autonomous. And it's in the heart of Ogoni land, which is one of the largest constituencies we have around. And it's a place that development has not been really much felt, particularly the federal presence. But by the grace of God, in our sojourn in the Green Chambers, we have been able to bring home a few projects. I think one of them of note is the constituency headquarters, which happens to be the senatorial headquarters of the Rivers Southeast Senatorial District. And coincidentally too, the headquarters of the Ogoni people, which is Bori. You can't find land there anymore because of issues of expansion. So we just thought it wise and were able to make provision in the budget for a road and a very big bridge that takes us from there to a community called Kor. In fact, the road lands between Kor and Kani, which opens into a very large expanse of arable land, and which has made it possible now for the community to, to grow towards that direction. We had a small program which we do annually, for my immediate community, where we're able to get 188 undergraduates and 32 postgraduate students. We're able to give them what we call education grants. For the undergraduates, 50,000. For the postgraduates, 100,000. We have been able to intervene very seriously in the provision of the consumables, books, computers, and all of that, writing desk, all of that, in about 5 major secondary schools in the constituency. Bodo City Girls in Gokana, Community Secondary School Yege in Gokana. We have the Community Secondary School Bori, which is at the headquarters of the constituency. We have in Berry High School in Berry, and CSS Kono, which is a boundary town between Kana local government and Opobo, Nkoro local government. We have facilitated capital through the CBN program. We had to go train our people, prepare them for that program. And I think if you look at it from those who got between 2.8 million and as much as 9.9 million, we also had those who had 500,000. So if you put all of them together, we have been able to drive home, facilitate over 500 million naira into, the constituency.
Well, that's all the time we have on The Gavel. Thanks for watching. Do well to send feedback to thegavel@channelstv.com. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.